Welcome to our channel. Today, we're back with a brand new topic just for you. Before we start the podcast, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Enjoy the show.
You know, when you think about the real workhorses in tech, those languages that are just quietly running so much stuff, C# often comes up.
It really does.
It's just incredibly versatile. You see it in huge enterprise systems, but then also in like mobile games, cloud infrastructure.
Yeah, pretty much everywhere.
It's a powerhouse, maybe one that doesn't always get the headline praise it deserves.
That's a great way to frame it. And, that's exactly why we wanted to do this deep dive for you today. There was interest in understanding its significance, its place in the tech world.
Right.
So we've gone through understanding C#, the powerful, versatile language, trying to pull out the core ideas. The mission, really, is to unpack C#, its origins, what it actually does, where you find it, and crucially, why it's still so relevant.
Okay, sounds good. So let's start at the beginning then, the genesis. Our source material points to the year 2000. Microsoft's big move, the .NET framework.
A massive initiative.
Yeah, a whole new platform.
Yeah.
But they needed like a modern language to be the heart of it, right?
Absolutely. Microsoft saw Java gaining ground, and they needed something powerful, object-oriented, but built specifically for their new .NET environment. It was about creating that integrated ecosystem.
And that's where Anders Hellsberg comes in, a bit of a legend in language design.
He is.
The book talks about his goals. It sounds like he was trying to blend the best bits of other languages. What was the core idea?
Well, what's really interesting is he wanted to bridge that gap. He aimed for the control, maybe the performance familiarity of C++3, but combine it with the safety and maybe the simpler syntax that Java was known for.
Okay.
And like you said, crucially, it had to be deeply tied into .NET to really leverage everything that framework offered.
So C# is born. And it had some key traits right from the start. The book mentions elegance, static typing. That sounds important for catching errors.
Yeah, very important. Statically typed means the compiler checks your variable types before you run the code. Think of it like an editor catching typos before publishing. Leads to more solid code.
Got it.
And it was object-oriented, running on this thing called the Common Language Runtime, the CLR.
Okay, the CLR. What's the significance of that foundation?
That CLR is key. It's like the engine manager for .NET apps. It handles memory, security, makes sure the code runs properly across different systems that support .NET. It provides that managed environment.
Right, okay. So that's the origin story. But fast forward to today, 2025. What is C# now? The sources say it's evolved beyond just being, a standard object-oriented language. How so?
Exactly. It started compiled, strongly typed, object-oriented, sure, but it's cleverly picked up features from other styles. Functional programming, for instance.
Yeah.
You've got LINQ for querying data in a really nice way, Lambda expressions.
Like little inline functions.
Yeah, precisely. They give you more flexibility in how you solve problems.
And it kept going, didn't it? The book points to async-await for asynchronous stuff. That seems vital for modern apps that need to stay responsive.
Oh, absolutely critical.
Plus, things like structs, records, nullable types for memory safety. It feels like C# has just kept adding layers, kept evolving.
And that's a major point. Unlike some languages that might stagnate a bit, Microsoft has poured resources into C#, constantly adding features, refining things. They've kept it fresh. That's a big differentiator.
Okay, so it's powerful, flexible, but why choose it? Why C# over something else for a project? Our source lays out some core strengths. That elegant syntax point caught my eye. What makes it elegant?
It hits a nice balance, I think. The syntax is generally seen as clean, logical. It avoids some of the, let's say, ceremonial complexity of older languages, but it's still clear enough for big projects. It's sort of a sweet spot between maybe Python's flexibility and C++'s strictness.
And then the whole .NET ecosystem, it's not just the language, it's everything that comes with it.
Exactly. You get access to this huge collection of libraries and tools. ASP.NET for web, Entity Framework for databases, even ML.NET for machine learning.
So it's like a whole toolkit ready to go.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And the advantage is they're designed to work together smoothly. That integration really boosts productivity. Less fiddling, faster development, like a well-stocked workshop where all the tools fit.
The cross-platform aspect is also highlighted. That wasn't always the case, was it? It used to be very Windows-centric.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge shift. A real game changer. The .NET Core and now .NET 8 and beyond broke it free from Windows.
Yeah.
Now you can build and run C# apps on Linux, Mac OS, put them in Docker containers.
Right.
It just massively expands where you can use it. Makes it viable for so many more teams and projects.
And that async await we mentioned earlier, the source really emphasizes how much easier it makes asynchronous programming. Why is that such a big deal today?
Well, think about modern apps, loading web pages, calling APIs. You can't have the whole thing just freeze while it waits.
Right. That's frustrating.
Exactly. Async await gives you a clean way to write code that does those long tasks in the background without blocking everything else. Leads to smoother, more responsive apps, like juggling multiple tasks without dropping any.
Okay, makes sense. And lastly, the tooling. Visual Studio gets mentioned almost glowingly, almost magical. IntelliSense, error checking, how much does that actually help developers day to day?
Oh, it's massive. Good tooling is a huge force multiplier.
Yeah.
IntelliSense predicting what you want to type, great debugging tools. It speeds things up dramatically and cuts down on frustration, like having a super smart assistant helping you write code faster and more accurately.
Okay, so it sounds really capable, but where is it actually used? In the wild, the book lists quite a range. Web development with ASP.NET Core seems like a big one.
Definitely. ASP.NET Core is really a top choice now for building fast web apps, REST APIs. It's known for performance and scalability on the back end.
And then games? Unity, this feels huge.
Yeah.
C# is the foundation for Unity, powering mobile games all the way up to AAA titles.
Yeah, its role in gaming is enormous. Unity is just dominant, especially for indie developers and mobile games. And since Unity uses C# for scripting all the game logic,
So tons of games are running on C#.
a vast number across pretty much all platforms. It's really a cornerstone of game development today.
Wow, okay. And it's not just web and games. Desktop apps still get a mention. WPF, WinForms, are those still relevant?
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not as flashy as web or mobile, but for certain things, especially enterprise applications on Windows, they're established, reliable ways to build native desktop apps. Stability is key there sometimes.
Cloud and microservices too. Azure support, .NET 8, and Docker. That ties back to the modern cross-platform story.
Exactly. Being able to easily build and deploy .NET microservices and containers, especially on Azure, makes C# a really strong option for modern, scalable cloud systems, building distributed stuff that can handle a lot of load.
Even mobile apps. Through Xamarin, which is now .NET MAUI, so you can write iOS and Android apps with C#.
You can, yeah. That's a big plus for teams wanting to hit both platforms with ideally one code base and one set of skills. MAUI enables that code sharing, which saves time and money.
And finally, AI and machine learning with ML.NET, so it's even pushing into those areas.
It is. While Python might be, the dominant force in pure data science, MLNet shows Microsoft wants C# developers to be able to integrate ML and AI into their existing applications without having to switch ecosystems entirely.
Okay, so a lot of strengths. But it can't be perfect, right? Our source does mention some potential downsides. That historical tie to the Microsoft ecosystem, for instance, is that still a major limitation?
That's a fair point to consider. While it's way more cross-platform now, its roots are deep in Windows. So some older or very specific libraries might still work best, or only, on Microsoft systems.
But it's less of a barrier now.
Definitely less of a barrier than it used to be, thanks to .NET Core and .NET 8. It's improving all the time.
What about performance compared to, say, C++ or Rust? The overhead of the CLR runtime, when does that matter?
It matters when you need absolute down-to-the-metal speed, like high-frequency trading or maybe parts of an operating system. For those scenarios, languages compiling directly to native code might have an edge. The CLR gives you things like garbage collection, which is great, but there's a small performance cost for that abstraction.
Okay. And the language itself is getting more complex. C#3 to C#12. That's a lot of new features. Could that be overwhelming, especially for beginners?
That's an interesting point, yeah. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. New features boost productivity, enable cooler things, but they do increase the learning curve.
Right.
Developers really need to commit to continuous learning to keep up. It can be daunting for newcomers.
And one specific thing for game devs using Unity, sometimes there's a lag before they get the very latest C# features in the engine.
That can happen, yeah. It's just the reality of engine development. Unity uses its own version of the .NET runtime, and updating that to support the absolute newest C# version takes time and a lot of testing to ensure stability within Unity itself. So a bit of a delay is pretty normal.
So let's pull it all together. Here we are in 2025. Is C# still a major player? The source suggests it is, consistently ranking high in popularity.
Oh, absolutely. Those rankings on GitHub, Stack Overflow, job sites, they consistently show C# in the top tier. Its ability to adapt, add new paradigms, plus Microsoft's strong backing it keeps it relevant.
And that improved cross-platform story with .NET 8 MAUI for mobile plus Unity just staying dominant in games. That seems pretty well positioned.
I'd say so, yeah. Those factors, plus the tight integration with Azure for cloud stuff, it paints a picture of a language with a very healthy future. It's going to be a key player for a long time, I think.
And the source made a nice point about versatility, knowing C# lets you move between different areas.
Yeah.
Web, games, desktop, cloud. That must be a big plus for developers.
It's a huge asset, definitely.
Yeah.
If you want to broaden your skills or work on different kinds of projects, C# gives you that foundation. The core ideas transfer well, opening up more career paths, making you more adaptable.
So wrapping up, who should really consider learning C# today? The source had some specific groups in mind. Obviously, anyone into Unity game development.
Oh, without a doubt. If you're serious about Unity, C# is essential. It's the main language you'll use.
What about web APIs, enterprise apps on .NET?
Yep, a very natural fit. For developers in the Microsoft ecosystem building those kinds of systems, C# and .NET offer a mature, high-performance environment.
And traditional Windows desktop apps. Still C#.
Still a strong contender there, yeah.
Yeah.
Using WPF or WinForms, for certain enterprise needs or specialized tools where a native Windows app is required, it's still very relevant.
Mobile developers looking for that unified iOS Android approach.
Yeah, .NET MAUI with C# is a really compelling option there. Streamlining development across both platforms is a big draw.
And finally, students or professionals just getting into the Microsoft world.
Absolutely. If you plan to work within that broad Microsoft tech stack, C# is a fantastic foundational skill. It opens a lot of doors.
So yeah, quite a journey we've traced. From the .NET revolution back in 2000 to now, C# has really become this incredibly versatile, powerful language. You've got the syntax, the huge ecosystem, the cross-platform reach, the great tooling.
Precisely. It started as maybe Microsoft's answer to Java, but it's grown into so much more. A truly multi-paradigm language that keeps adapting thanks largely to that continuous investment from Microsoft.
Well, this has been really insightful, and thanks to you, our listener, for prompting this exploration. It really highlights why it's valuable to understand these core technologies that, power so much of what we interact with.
Indeed. Getting a handle on the strengths and even the nuances of languages like C# just gives you better context for navigating the whole software world.
So here's something to maybe mull over. We've talked about how languages like C# keep evolving, adding more features, becoming more powerful. How does that constant growth affect people just starting out? Is there a tension between making languages more capable for experts and keeping them accessible for newcomers? What does that mean for the future and who gets to build it? Something interesting to think about.